Hi YouTube friends, this is Fossilsaurus. I'm coming at you with something that I think is pretty cool. Not my usual kind of animal, but definitely worth it. Let's slowly bring it out like in a showcase. Let me see if I could just get a little bit more up here. Well, there we go. Okay. So if you couldn't already tell, this is a rib bone. Now, it has a little bit of restoration. For instance, here, here, and here. I couldn't care less about that. Now, I knew this when I bought it. I knew it was broken at this point when I bought it. I didn't have the beautiful stuff that they used here, so I just use a putty that I have and figured I'd stick it together, and I couldn't care less if you could see a little bit of putty like holding it together. That would mean nothing to me. I mean, it would just be a small amount anyway, but I had to use something that's very clear, and I couldn't just put a little bit there and then mush it together. Had to put enough on both sides so it would be sturdy and hold it there. It's been very hard to sand it all off. I've done a fairly good job here. I'm working on it. I still have a lot to do all around here. Problem is it's sanding up the bone a little bit, but if I may have to put some kind of coating on the bone just to get rid of the sand marks, because if you see here, just getting it a little wet gets rid of the scratch marks. So if I put some kind of coating, it would get rid of that. So yeah, I mean, that sucks. I knew I was gonna have to do it. It's a little bit worse than I thought it was gonna be, but I'm working on it. To be honest, I put this aside and I haven't touched it in like 2 years. So maybe getting a video on it now will get me started on it again. Now this is bone of a HADrosaur, specifically an Edmontasaur. This is one of the ribs that's furthest back towards right where on a human we would have a spare tire, right down by the waist. Now these guys are pretty cool. Edmontasaurus. There's a lot of info out there. They're one of the older dinosaurs known, and so there's a lot of info out there, and a lot of info from the past is inaccurate. So when I said the past, I mean hundreds of years ago, there was lots of inaccurate information. So there's a lot of information floating around. It's not like the really old information like that is taken seriously anymore, but when you're doing research, it does go through all that information and talks about it. So there's a lot to know about it, a lot to read about it. Personally, I'm not as interested in that stuff, so it was kind of a pain to get through all that. One of the interesting things is that it went through so many names, which is weird because when an animal is first named something, that is the name that it will stick with, even if the name doesn't make sense. Like for Basilosaurus, Basilosaurus was the original name. That means king lizard. It's not a lizard. It was tried to be named Zeuglodon later, which means yoke teeth, which fits perfectly. But it was named Basilosaurus first. So even though it's totally inaccurate, that's the name it's just stuck with. I don't know the details, and to be honest, I didn't really want to go into all the I guess that is the etymology of the names. It has gone through the names Claosaurus, Anatosaurus, Trachodon, Anatotitan, and one I can't pronounce, which is Ugrunaaluk. Now, if you can pronounce it, let me know. I don't know how it got through those names without having one of them being stuck, but I'm sure there's a story there, but it's a story I'm not going to learn. At least I'm not going to go out of my way to learn. Now these guys were massive. There's a lot of conflicting info, and part of it, the majority of it is saying that they got up to, or what we know, the ones that we know of, got up to 39 feet, which is a very large dinosaur. I mean, Tyrannosaurs are only 40 to 42 feet, so that's pretty much Tyrannosaurus size. Now, I don't know if this is because it's a newer species that hasn't been studied as much, or it's not as well known, but there's Edmontasaurus annectans, and it is measured up to 15.5 meters, which is 51 feet. It's like 50.8 or something like that. So 51 feet. That is significantly larger than Tyrannosaurus. Not far from 10 feet longer. That is longer than Crocodontosaurus, Giganotosaurus. I believe that is just about the size of Spinosaurus. To be honest, I don't know which is bigger, but it's going to be by like a foot or two, one or the other. I believe Spinosaurus is like 55 feet, so it's about the same size. And these guys had very, very high shoulders. So as you'll see in some of the pictures, despite the length that they were just monstrous, even more monstrous because of how tall they were at the shoulders. They were still parallel to the ground, like long tail spread out, and then the body just straight forward, and then the head at that level pretty much. So the shoulders are pretty much the highest point. There's going to be a little back arch going above that, but the shoulders are about the biggest point. So you can just imagine how, well, you don't have to imagine, you'll see from the pictures how big these guys are. I mean, or are known to be up to. I don't know why that information is not the fallback. That's not the right term, but the information that is more commonplace than the 39-foot info. Like I said, it's this one species, so it may be a new species, it may be a new individual found. I'm just not sure. Now, these guys lived 73 to 60, well, to the KT extinction, which is either 65 or 66 million years ago. If you've been into dinosaurs for a couple decades, you'll know that the answer was 65 million years ago. There was no such thing as anybody saying 66 million years ago. But it's changed to now most people will say 66 million years ago. Some people still say 65. I don't know what changed. It's not like we, like, time-wise crossed the gap or something. It hasn't been a million years since since I was younger. So I don't know where it changed from 66 or 65 to 66. Curious to me. I'm not sure. I mean, I guess they were just able to narrow it down a little bit more, and maybe like it used to be 65, but now it's 65.6 or something like that. So it goes up to, I don't know. But anyway, these guys lived to the end. They were in the period of the most famous dinosaurs to most people. What most people think of as like the reign of dinosaurs, they think of Triceratops, Tyrannosaurus, Ankylosaurus, maybe without knowing the name, Pachycephalosaurus, and then in the waters there's Mosasaurus, there's still some Plesiosaurs and stuff, and even Ichthyosaurs, almost up to the end. And the Asdarchids, which are the massive pterosaurs. That is the generic picture of the Mesozoic for like kids' books and what, like, before people become experts and really read into it. That is the, oh, and these guys too, the hadrosaurs, duck-billed dinosaurs. All that's missing is, like, from that list is like the sauropods. But yeah, so these guys lived among all those. So they were the cliche dinosaurs. They were one of the more common ones, which leads me to believe that they were one of the most common prey for T-Rex and things like that. I'm guessing a very, very large number of them did not make it to adulthood because they would be the a significant food source as while they were smaller, because when they got full size, they could still get taken down, especially if, as new info is arguing, T-Rex might have been a group hunter, which is the most horrifying thought ever. Imagine trying to run from one, but imagine it be like the raptors in Jurassic Park, where you run from one and then one comes out from the side. But anyway, God, that's spine-tingling. That's my understanding. It must be something like that with the amount that they are. They're like the wildebeest kind of situation of Africa nowadays. They are one of the most common fossils, at least of land dinosaurs, at least in land dinosaurs in, well, wait, dinosaurs are all land animals, I'm sorry. So let me specify, from dinosaurs, at least dinosaurs in North America. So common that we have, I mean, they are found in mass graves, mass piles, accidents during migration, like a landslide or flood or something like that. Just mass boneyards. And it's so common. I mean, fossilization is almost can't happen. That's how rare it is. I mean, it does happen, obviously, but it's so rare that you can never use the term common when it comes to it. But relatively commonly, these guys are preserved to the point where we have quite a few actual mummies. Now, they're not like Egyptian mummies. They're more like the Irish or Scottish bog bodies, where the skin is beautifully preserved. They flatten down where like inside where the organs kind of flatten, but like the features are beautiful. Most of them have areas that the skin is gone and the bones are out and so on, but there's at least areas on them where there is still soft tissue preserved. I mean, not preserved as soft tissue, but where you can see the fossilized soft tissue, which it's just, I mean, I'm gonna have pictures of that in here too, but that's just, I mean, it's amazing when you think about it, actually seeing dinosaur skin imprints. Now we do have skin imprints on quite a few other animals now, including T-Rex, Carnotaurus, even Mosasaur and Ichthyosaurs. So it's not unheard of, but it is pretty amazing. And especially when you get things like muscle and like brain and organ tissue and stuff, that's just off the charts crazy. So they're pretty impressive. They might seem kind of boring to people because of how common they are. They might be kind of boring in life, but in death at least they're pretty amazing when they're showing us these unusually amazingly preserved situations. So now just a little bit about the bone. I'm not as big into boring plant eaters. That's kind of how I feel about these. They are awesome. They're still dinosaurs. But when I saw this for the price, I had to get it because it's a very big bone. It's very cool. And it was so cheap because it was broken. But that was something that I knew that I could fix, or, I mean, I was talking to them about it and fixing, and they were telling me about it, and it didn't seem too hard. So for the price, I went with it. And when I'm all done with it, it's going to be a beautiful specimen. It already is, but and there's actually more of it. There's an area of up here that is I have, but it came detached. I'm not going to put it on until this is done, and then right before I mount it or put it up somewhere, then I will glue it on, because it's going to be a very delicate attachment. When I finally get this done, I'll do one of those 1 minute or less short videos just to update about it. So yeah, not my most favorite kind of dinosaur, but just absolutely beautiful bone. Just got my attention right away, and at least for the price. So, but thank you so much for watching. I always appreciate you guys taking the time to watch. I would really appreciate some likes now and then. And some subscriptions. That would be really appreciated. Thank you so much for your attention, and I hope you guys will be here for my next video.